Okay, and now we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Lumo Hubs. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Burnout Made Simple with Tanya Timkova. So, basically, I know we all hear the word burnout, right? We are constantly hearing it, but we don't really understand what it means until it hits us. So, today, Tanya is going to tell us what it is. Basically, she's going to simplify it for us and help us prevent it. So Tanya is a leadership and design thinking coach who has walked the path herself. She's a serial entrepreneur who understands the pressure to perform, and so she's just here to show us how to spot the warning signs before we crash. Tanya, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the platform to talk about this topic because it is a very important topic. We hear, right, especially in the last years, we hear all the time, yeah, burnout, burnout, I'm burnt out. And in the field of mental health, it's quite alarming. So burnout is called the next pandemic, right? So we've been through COVID, and now burnout is considered to be the pandemic. And I am here to debunk a lot of myths about burnout because there are lots of misconceptions of what it is. And we very often confuse it with just prolonged stress or with exhaustion. So I want to indeed just to simplify it as much as possible and to explain the mechanism of it. And most importantly, what we can do already, right? All of us, um, just to prevent it, right? To avoid it, because it's much better to avoid burnout than to heal from it. Yeah, that's why I'm here. So yeah, a quick presentation. Thank you. We already said a few words about me. I'm Tanya. I'm a coach. I work with founders, leaders, with high performers, and burnout is one of the topics that I closely work with. Only not only because I had two burnouts myself, and only the second time I was officially diagnosed by the therapist. The first time I didn't know it was a burnout. I thought it's just normal. It's just my life. I highly stressed environment, job, doing everything at the same time. But once I got diagnosed, once I got trained to work with post burnout states, right, I realized that it was actually a second one for me. That's why I feel it's my honestly my personal purpose to talk about it, because as I said, there are lots of misconceptions about what burnout is, and I really want as many people as possible to understand the mechanisms and be able to support themselves at the very first stages. So before we continue, I see some people in the audience. I just want to ask you a few questions, and like just give me some reaction. Maybe just speak up or put some reaction if you've ever noticed one or few symptoms that I'm talking about. So, do you ever feel tired even after resting or taking time off? Like, does it sound familiar?
Yes, almost every single day.
Yeah, yeah. Does switching off feel harder than working? It's a different perspective, right? Like taking a pause, sometimes it's much harder than keep on working, right? So I don't know, it's not necessarily that you have felt it, but these are just the alarming signs to look at. Have things that used to motivate you started to feel flat or heavy? You're losing motivation, you're losing inspiration in things that you loved to do before. Have you?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever had difficulties seeing and acknowledging the results of your work? It's an important one. You do a lot, you perform, you think that, yeah, everyone says, oh, wow, good job. And you don't feel it deep inside. Like, what is that? It's useless. It's not, I could have done better. I could have done more. I could have done something different.
Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah, I know. It resonates with so many of us, especially people working in highly stressed environments and dealing with a lot of mental, emotional, physical load. And, it's almost everyone who is having a job on, or even just uh, um, women, even stay-at-home mom, not working in a toxic or highly stressed environment, but having so much mental load, it can also go in a burnout. And now I will explain what burnout actually is. Just again, a little bit of awareness, talking about founders, talking about employees, talking about highly stressed societies. The stats, you see, almost a half of founders report burnout in the past year. It's just fresh statistics that I could dig. Almost 50% of employees worldwide report feeling burnt out at least some of the time. Burnout rates are high in tech, startup, and remote first teams. Yeah, why is that? Obviously, tech startup because it's a highly stressed environment. Remote first teams, it's also kind of a red zone, just because working remote, managing your own time, it's much more difficult to set boundaries and switch off from work. So people getting used to, like never turning off their computers, their minds, and keep on going. So if you're working remote, so you've noticed it as well. So just to start debunking and simplifying what burnout is. Burnout is the chronic nervous system state, right? So we are talking about nervous system here, and when we are talking about preventing burnout, we will also get back to our nervous system. Burnout is caused by sustained pressure, a lot of pressure from different sources. Can be work pressure, can be life pressure, everything. But it's sustained and it's not dealt with. So you don't do anything with it for a long time, and it's keeps on burning out your nervous system. Insufficient recovery, I will talk about it in detail, because very often we think, oh yeah, well, weekend, I'm gonna take a bath, I'm gonna go for a walk, or oh, finally in 3 weeks I'm finally going on a holiday for a week. It is insufficient. It does not help to fully recharge the nervous system, and I will explain the mechanism how we can do it. Burnout is caused by changes in brain chemistry. So basically, what happens in the brain? Instead of saying, how do I thrive, right? Our brain, how do I get creative? How do I do things? How do I make decisions? How do I work effectively and well? Our brain, just to make it simple, thinks, how do I survive? So burnout state, like prolonged stress, insufficient recovery, changes the chemistry. So, like adrenaline, cortisol levels go much higher. The amygdala, the part of the brain that is responsible for stress management, gets very alert and then kind of never stops, right? So it's constant alert state in the brain. What happens then is also prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is responsible for slowing down, for creativity, for relaxation, for nervous system regulation. Prefrontal cortex shuts down. So our brain actually is under a constant threat. It feels like a threat. And our brain goes into the freeze mode. Our nervous system goes into freeze mode. And why? Because our brain's only important task is to keep us safe, right? And when there is prolonged state of unsafety, of stress, our brain is like, okay, guys, I'm done. I'm going to shut everything down. All the systems are going down. We are freezing because there's constant threat. So what happens as a result of this, right? Slower thinking, like, it's difficult to concentrate. These are the signs, right? These are the signs of burnout. Slower thinking, reduced innovation, like the person who used to be so creative or have so many beautiful ideas just can't make it anymore. It just doesn't come. Emotional detachment, it's a very important sign which actually distinguishes burnout from just stress or just exhaustion. Emotional detachment is when I asked you, have you ever felt like you can't really see the results of your work, or your work becomes not so important for you, even if you used to love it? Like, this would happen to me. I loved the work that I was doing. I was so passionate and it was my life, but at some point, like, I felt super detached. I felt cynical. I didn't really want to do it. I didn't see the reason why I'm doing this. At some point, I just woke up and I felt like, oh, it's useless. It doesn't make any sense. Although the work was very meaningful at well, it was making a lot of sense to the world, but not for me anymore. Decision fatigue, right? You feel you feel difficulties making decisions, making important decisions, making even small decisions in your work and in your personal life. You feel so overwhelmed that even doing groceries feels very draining. You know, it makes you irritated, makes you very anxious because you have to make a decision, but you have the brain fog and you can't really do it. So you start avoiding making decisions, and or it can also feel it in the work, right? In a job, like you stop taking some assignments, you stop having agency over your work, you try to avoid as much as possible making decisions. And we start relying on quick fixes. Quick fixes are coping mechanisms, right? When we feel drained, when we feel not well, it can be caffeine, it can be sugar, it can be alcohol, anything, right? That's it can be binge watching Netflix, staying on social media, scrolling for hours. Do you do you know this feeling when you kind of you have a few hours of rest, for example, and you think, yeah, now I will just relax, and then you lay on the couch or in bed with your phone, just going through TikTok, just and you can't stop, and you kind of you understand that this is not the most the best way to spend this 2 hours, right? But you just can't do anything else. You just like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Like, this is also a quick fix that our brain needs, because all these things like caffeine, sugar, maybe going on eating more or eating less, or scrolling the phone. These are all quick things, quick fixes, quick rewards that give us dopamine, right? The element that our brain needs to feel satisfaction. So once we are in a freeze mode, we don't get the dopamine, right? So we need to search for it at like these quick fixes just to have it here and now. And our brain is not able um, to be open, be flexible, and creative in this moment to avoid it, right? So that's why we're trying in the stages of leading to burnout. We're trying to fix ourselves with quick fixes. Okay, I think I can. Very important point that I want to make, and this is where many people get it wrong, to see the difference of burnout and exhaustion. Because we hear it all like, I'm burnt out, I'm burnt out. Are you really burnt out? In order to understand if you're just very tired or if you're really burnt out, because the mechanism is similar but different, we need to know what exhaustion and burnout is. So exhaustion is temporary, right? Temporary, and it improves with rest. If you are exhausted, if your physics, your emotions, your mental state, you are exhausted, it will improve with rest. For example, you take a week off and you really invest in high quality rest. Again, not laying on the couch scrolling the phone, but really sleeping well, eating well, taking nature walks, and you will feel better, right? You kind of bounce back, your motivation returns, and your nervous system can still downshift, right? If you feel regulated after a good deep rest, few days, sometimes few hours, depending on the stage of exhaustion, this most likely is not a burnout yet. This is exhaustion. So it needs a lot of good rest. Burnout, on the contrary, it's a chronic psychological state. What it means, like chronic, it means that this exhaustion state, this like stress, has been going for a long time, many times, like not months but years and years of prolonged unresolved stress, which leads our system to burnout. Our nervous system burns out, together with it all other systems, right? Physical, mental, social. Rest no longer restores energy. So you can go on a week, you can go on 2 weeks of holiday, but then you come back to your working environment, right? Because burnout mostly happens in working environment. You get back to work, and it all gets back to the previous state. Motivation, meaning, confidence drop. So you don't fix it with just resting. Nervous system stuck in survival mode. That's what I said, right? Like our brain is in a constant alert. Prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for deep rests, is not active. So again, we can try to rest, we can try to take a holiday or a weekend, but it will not fix burnout. It's very important to distinguish these two things. In burnout, the nervous system has forgotten how to downregulate. It's very important because the stress has been so long for such a long time that we just forgot. How do I unwind? How do I rest? How do I get back to normal? So what we have to do, we have to teach our system to remind our system how to do it again. So what causes burnout, right? It's not only stress, it's not only long hours, it's not only responsibilities that we usually have at the working environment. It's much deeper than that. So as I said, burnout is our nervous system adapting to chronic pressure, right? So our brain is learning to live in this state of stress. So what causes burnout? Again, the pressure itself, right? Prolonged, as I said, it's not one day, it's not 1 week of stress. 1 week of stress will not cause burnout. It might cause sign of anxiety, it might cause exhaustion, right? Because it drains a lot of energy, but it will not cause burnout. It's weeks and weeks and months and sometimes years. Uh, at the same time, lack of nervous system regulation. Imagine months or years of stress which is not regulated. Like we don't attend to it, we don't do anything with it. A very important reason to burn out is the identity, senses, purpose, right? More this kind of soul work, our value work, not only stress, not only responsibilities, but I put it here: identity fused with performance. How many of us actually connect our performance with our identity? Like, I am as good as my career is, right? I am as great as I do at work, or I need to achieve more to prove myself that I can do more, or I need to prove my family. I need to be better to be seen. I need to push hard in order to climb the career ladder, right? All those things that we believe in, they become a part of our identity. So, which makes it very hard not to get into burnout, because the moments when we could have felt the signs of the body, right? We feel the signs that the body is something is shifting, right? I feel it. I'm not well, but I was like, no, I will push hard. I will push hard. I will rely on my willpower. I will do it because I'm good. I know that I'm good and I can do more, right? Like, what also causes the burnout is the misalignment between our values and our daily actions. It's very, yeah, it's a complex thing, but very often we burn out because we do things that are not really what we want to do or we believe in, or we have a toxic environment, for example, that does not let us um, live by our work, by our values, right? Like, I don't know, like, even imagine your big value, you value honesty and openness, and then you work in an environment which is really toxic, and people are just talking behind the backs of each other, and yeah, doing things that are not really good. So basically your value is always compromised when you come to work, and this also creates a lot of stress, which is not directly caused by the number of job tasks, work tasks that you have, but still it drains a lot of energy. So this is also something to think. We need to be aligned, right? It's the best situation is that our work is aligned with who we are, right? With our purpose, with our mission in life, and we can really see that we are, through our work, we can actually um, work on that mission, right? But obviously it's not, it's just it's a very perfect situation that most people don't are not in, and we live in a real world, right? We have bills to pay, and sometimes we compromise, right? And we just have to do our job to have a quality of life that we can afford, being healthy and supporting our family, for example. But then we still need to find ways to work on our values and purpose, right? We still need to find ways to feed our soul, right? I call it so. If I can't feed my soul, my life purpose through my work, then the question, like designer question here, how can I find ways to feed my purpose? If my purpose is helping others, but at my work I'm not helping. I'm a developer, for example, right? I'm just writing code all day. I'm very good at that, but I don't feel that I'm directly helping anyone. But I know that my purpose is to help others. Then maybe I will volunteer 1 hour a week at some volunteering center, and I will support and help others indirectly, like this, not through my work, but this will feed my soul, and at least I can regulate these things. Like, this is also very important to know that not only job workload causes burnout, but also when we don't see the meaning and purpose in what we're doing. um, another cause of burnout is emotional load without processing. Again, a lot of responsibility, a lot of emotional load, a lot of thoughts, and we can't process it. We don't have systems to process them, or we don't have anyone to talk about, or we are not being heard by our management. So it can also cause burnout. And no recovery system in place. I will talk about recovery system next. Like, we don't understand we don't have the toolkit for ourselves in order to work with burnout, right? So I don't understand. Okay, I know that I have to recover. I know that I have to recharge my nervous system, but how do I do it? I don't have the system in place. I don't know what helps, what works for me, right? Then, like, we start experimenting. We start thinking, oh, okay, maybe I take a bath, or maybe I go and sleep, or maybe I change something. And this is very important to eventually, if we want to avoid burnout, prevent burnout, or heal from burnout, we need to create this system which will be different for each person, because we're all different. We need to test a lot of approaches and see what works best for us, and then use it, right, on a daily basis. So we burn out because our system never resets. I just wanted to repeat it. So to conclude, burnout is a specific biological, right? Because the changes of chemistry in the brain, and psychological pattern, right? Psychological pattern, again, because I talked about values, purpose, about feeling of self. Who am I? How am I being um, heard by others? And what is my identity? How is it? What are my boundaries, right? These are all psychological problems, psychological issues that also work in favor or against the burnout state. So burnout, turns out that burnout is not only exhaustion that we used to think, right? It's exhaustion, cynicism, and detachment. This is very important. This is also like a sign. What if you ever think that you might be in a burnout state? Ask yourself, do I feel cynical? Do I feel detached from my work? Right? As I made an example, someone says like, yeah, you really performed well, you really did so good, look at you, and you're like, I don't think so. It also useless. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to me anymore. It doesn't make sense to people. It's all useless. This is cynicism. And reduced sense of effectiveness, again. So you don't feel effective. You don't feel like you're doing something. Like you feel that, does it all make sense? So altogether, these are these signs of burnout that I hope now it's more clear, like how to distinguish. Is it really burnout, or it's just exhaustion? High performance, I know that there are many high performance in this community. High performance burnout because we push through signals others would stop at, right? As I said, high performance, we connect our identity with how good we work, how much we can do, and we say like, no, I have a lot of willpower, I'm disciplined, I will push through, it's okay, I will rest. I have a holiday coming up in 2 months. I will rest then. No, it doesn't work like that with burnout. Um, Also, what I feel important to say is just to briefly leave it here. Maybe you want to make a screenshot or a photo, just to keep it in mind that burnout comes in phases, and they're all reversible. Like, right? It's important to understand that I'm talking about, yeah, it's chronic, whatever. It's all reversible, but depending on the stage of burnout, it will be easier to heal or harder, right? So there are four essential stages of burnout: alarm, adaptation, exhaustion, and the last stage is ineffectiveness. So alarm stage, it's usually something that most of people ignore. But if we have a good body mind connection, if we have systems in place to hear our like the signals, to see the signals of the body from the very beginning, we can catch the burnout at the alarm stage, and it will be pretty easy to get out of it, and not to move further. Because what are the signs that I'm talking, right? Again, like think about irritability. You become more irritable. You sleep. Your sleep is not really good. You have difficulties falling asleep, or you are exhausted, right? During the day you sleep 8 hours and it still does not help you, for example. You might have some tension in the body, just feels a little bit of change in that. You still function, everything looks like ever before, but you start feeling something. You might actually start having some, it's one of the big signs of burnout, some digestive problems, some migraines, or just headache. These are the early signs of burnout. It's good to address in that. If we usually, this is the stage that most people ignore. They think like, oh yeah, wow, it's just a headache. Oh yeah, I don't sleep well because I know kids, work, stress. If we don't address the state at this moment, we get our system goes into adaptation, and this is chronic stress, and this can last for months and years. We adapt because, as I said, our brains are flexible, like neuroplasticity is in place. Our brains are able to create new neural pathways in any situation. We adapt to any situation, but this is not good for our system, right? It's not good for our health to adapt to chronic stress. So imagine, right, the craziness of it. The chronic stress feels normal. We get used to live in this high performance alert mode all the time. We think that this is normal. But what happens? Our joy, right? Our satisfaction, life quality decreases. We don't feel good anymore. We irritated. We are anxious. We are not present with our families. We are not present in our work. We can't perform as well as we used to do, right? Like many things happen. We start relying on, as I said, like quick fixes, caffeine, like some willpower, like yeah, I will go through, I will push through. We might eat more sugar because again it's a quick fix, as I said. I will not repeat it there. And it all leads to exhaustion, deep exhaustion, which I already mentioned, right? Brain fog, emotional flatness. It's also a sign of burnout when we don't really feel emotions, or we just so tired, we feel so tired that we can't even experience happiness even at a happy moment, right? Or when something like really bad happens, we can't feel sadness because we are so drained inside. It's like the system can't process those emotions anymore. So as I also said, like even small tasks feel heavy. Like I remember myself in a burnout state, like I would it was I the morning I slept relatively well, and I wake up and I'm thinking that I need to do this and that, but small tasks. But I'm almost thinking, oh, when is the how many hours do I need to go through the day in order to go to bed again. I thought back then that it was depression, and I went to the therapist to check if it was depression or not. And also, many people ask me, is burnout depression? No, it's not depression, but it might lead to depression, but there is no direct correlation. It's not like if you're burned out, then you will go into depression. The mechanism is different, but very often burnout can turn into depression. But I'm not going there now. I don't work with depression states. It's a little bit, there is very similar mechanisms and chemistry in the brain, but it's different. The causes are different, so we are sticking to burnout. As I said, a burnout is reversible. Any questions at this stage? Or shall I go further? Or maybe yeah, from your experience, maybe you noticed something, or you would love to share, or just you don't know. You can write in the chat, or
Questions in the
oh yeah,
chat. Yes, if you look in the chat, you'll see questions there. I can
yeah.
spotlight them for you.
let me stop there. Yeah, I see it now. Can routine and highly repetitive work lead to burnout even when the workload isn't heavy? Yes, if it can, of course, even the workload isn't heavy, but it's if you don't feel, as I said, like if you don't feel the meaning, right? It can also be like if you don't feel the meaning of what you're doing, it can lead to burnout. I don't see a huge risk here, because if you feel that the workload is not heavy, and if you feel that you're keeping it under control, so you have time to recharge, you have time to reset. I will talk about it now, how to actually create the system. So if you can support yourself with a not so heavy workload, you will most likely not burn out from routine and highly repetitive work. But there is the element of values and identity. If you feel that, maybe you feel that, I'm not saying you, right? It's just in general. If the person has a highly repetitive routine work but feels that, yeah, my value of creativity is compromised here, I could have done something different, I could have done more, this can also lead to emotional burnout. Yeah, but if the person thinks like, yeah, actually I love it, I know what I do, I know what I have to do, I do this, I get paid for it, I see the value of my work, and I also have systems in place to support my nervous system, then you'll be fine. Hope this answers the question. uh let's see. Yes. That was going to be my question. Sometimes the work does not align with our values when we need to work. Yes, exactly. Can being highly capable and dependable at work actually increase someone's risk of burnout because they get relied on too much? Yes, of course. And I would say this is the question of boundaries, very much that psychological aspect of burnout. It's important to understand your own boundaries. What is too much, right? What are you actually ready to take on without being like compromised, without being taken advantage of, right? Because if we don't communicate our boundaries to the world, to our management, to our teams, if we don't understand our boundaries ourselves, people will take advantage, but not even wanted to take advantage, but they will, because yeah, like there is a space for that. So it's important to really understand what is my, yeah, I'm highly effective, I'm highly capable, I'm talented, I can do more, but what is my limit? How much of the limits do I want to have? Again, like designing the system for myself, what I can take, what I cannot, and knowing it, and not only knowing, but also being able to communicate it, not feeling that, oh yeah, now they will think that I'm lazy, or they will think that I don't want to work. No, but just being open and in a very ecological manner, just saying, okay, this is what I can do, this is my limit, I already know myself, and I can be the most effective while I'm working to this limit. Because it's also important, we forget when we are trying to, function, when we're trying to prove something, when we're trying to push through, we forget that actually we become highly ineffective in the burnout state, in exhausted state. So what's the point of it all, right? Just trying to, many people, I work with many people who are like really climbing the career ladder, or they're building a business and they want to prove the world that they can do it, and at some point they burn out. And what was the reason for it all, right? You have to get back to the beginning. Yeah, okay. Hope it's a response. Can one be at the exhaustion stage yet still be functioning because they need to be functioning? um yes, well, still functioning because they need to be functioning. Yeah, we willpower brings us, right, brings us very, very far. This is the exhaustion stage, but when we're in effectiveness stage, like the last part, this is already, it becomes difficult. So it really becomes difficult. And I've seen people, I've had friends in the burnout, in a very deep stage of burnout, this ineffectiveness. It's very alarming. It's really like even the most highly functioning person cannot do it anymore any longer. It's like literally not possible to get out of bed in the morning. Like people cry because they just can't do it anymore. So their body just starts shutting down, and this is a stage where we don't want to get. we really don't want to get there, because it's not only exhaustion, and it's not only like everything shuts down, and then there are some, I always say burnout is reversible, but this last ineffectiveness stage is really difficult to reverse, because for me, for example, I was in that stage, and it's still taking me years to recover. I had some hormonal changes, and it's very, very unpleasant. So people ask me, for example, how long does it take to recover from a burnout? And I ask the question to my colleagues who work directly with burnout healing, and there is no one answer to that, because depending on the stage in which the burnout has been caught, it might take 3 months, it might take 6 months, but most mental health specialists working with burnout say that if it was a stage of exhaustion or a stage of ineffectiveness, it will take at least a year of consistent systematic actions to start feeling better. And when I say start feeling better, it doesn't mean that, yeah, I'm back to normal. I'm back doing what I was doing before the burnout. No, which is also very important to understand that very often my new normal, after I've healed, after I've got myself out, bumped, from the burnout, my new normal, my new 100% would be my 60-70% before the burnout. Yeah, does it make sense? Good news, burnout is not permanent brain damage, right? As I said, it's reversible. So at least we have a bit of hope. So, but when I say that it's not permanent, right, it's reversible, it means that it's in our hands to actually work with it. So before I talk about, let's say, getting out of burnout, I want to talk about prevention, what really works. So and what is important here is that sorry, yeah, makes sense. What I see here, what I want to say, that prevention works better than healing, than dealing with burnout. But prevention comes at any stage, even if you feel that you might be now at the adaptation or alert stage, right at the very beginning of it. You can still work on prevention. Like, prevention is, we want to prevent ineffectiveness, we want to prevent the last stage, which makes us difficult to get out of bed, right, which makes us makes the system shut down, right? Then we have to work on, side effects of health decreases and everything. So, or maybe sometimes, some people even have to go on medication support, but we don't want to get there. So we can prevent at any stage. And burnout prevention means system design, as I said, right? Remember I said, like, taking a bath once a week or having a good night's sleep does not help to prevent burnout. It's what really helps is sticking to these 4 rules. First rule is rhythm beats balance. Daily rhythm. So we have effort, recovery, effort. What I'm saying, like, we have, imagine where you have a workload and you have 5 calls a day. So you need to build a system for yourself that in between, like, okay, 2 calls, it's already overwhelming for me. I feel a bit tired. So I take the effort, I do 2 calls, then I have 10 minutes of recovery, active recovery. It may be like a breathing or maybe a small meditation, or I just stand up, which is very good if you're sitting all day. I stand up for 10 minutes. I do a few, I don't know, a few easy squats, or just walk around. Or if I have 10-15 minutes, I go for a little walk around the block, or even in my room, right? Or I have a standing desk. But I change something. I create a system. I create the small recovery moments. And then again, I go and do the effort. Then again, I have the moment of recovery. So again, as I said, like, it will be very individual for all of us, because we're all different. But we need to understand that this is not once in a while we recover, once a week or once in a month, or even like, oh, I wait for my holiday and then I will recover. No. So if we don't have this rhythm, if we don't create this rhythm for ourselves, we will still be in a constant survival mode. Brain will always be like, oh yeah, again, again, and again, and again. Like, I recently had, I was building a burnout prevention program for nurses, right? Like, women working in a highly stressful environment where they can't really have agency or a lot of control over their schedule. They can try to, but still sometimes there are night shifts that they did not opt for, right? There are things that stress, they always in this alert mode. And what works very well, right, as I said, like for example, even in these highly stressful environments, taking like five seconds in between patients, in between attending to others, just close your eyes and have 5 deep breaths. It's already something, like every now and then, like every hour, in between attending to patients. It doesn't take much time, but this is already a system that helps to regulate nervous system. What also works, for example, for shift workers, or is just to have a ritual. Well, actually, it's good for everyone. To have a ritual to close the day. So it's just to give a signal to the brain that, okay, the work day is over. Now I move into my life, right? To my other responsibilities. It also works very well for people who work at home, for example, right? So like, if you work remotely from your home office, it's very difficult to switch off from work mode. So, right, maybe you noticed, if you work remotely, you finished your work day, but then you go and cook dinner, and you're still thinking about your work, or emails, or what's going to be there tomorrow. Oh yeah, I'm going to bed and I will be thinking about work, which is also like, it's exhausting for nervous system. So we need to create a ritual that's okay, like just really consciously I close my laptop, or I switch off my computer, and I stand up and I say out loud, the day is over, my work is over. The simple things, but they create big changes for our nervous system. Safety before strategy. This is very applicable to high achievers, to people having a lot of responsibilities also, for example, or for people working on, as managers, managing others, leaders. Safety before strategy. We need to create the safety for our brain. So before we start working on big ideas, we need to regulate our nervous system. Yeah, you can't think clearly when you're regulated poorly. So yeah, if you're in this constant alert mode, it's very difficult to be creative, to come up with great plans and ideas. So again, regulation first, decisions second. I always say, if I work with leaders, I always um, motivate them to create the system that even before like a big strategic session, right? It's like, what will you do? How will you regulate yourself so you come to the session, you come to this event with your team in a regulated state, because then you can be a better leader, then you can be you will have different energy. Micro recovery during the day, right? As I said at the beginning, rhythm. For example, take 3 minutes between meetings, and conscious breathing, meditation, prayer, a little walk, just a little shake, movement, something that will switch off the alert mode from the brain. Short but repetitive. Again, like it's much better to have 5 moments during the day for 5 minutes or 2 minutes than 1 hour of meditation. Like, how many of us can actually do 1 hour of meditation a day? I don't think that's so many. I hope that we will build the systems that we can do it, because it's really effective. Meditation, prayer, whatever, like just getting out of our brains and focus on the present moment. But 1 hour is too much for most of highly functioning people. That's why we need to create this shorter things, like we create a system. As I said, right, like clear end of day shutdown ritual. It's also very powerful. And identity check. Remember psychological aspect of burnout. Who are you trying to be, and at what cost? Right. If I'm high performer, who am I trying to be? Who am I proving? What am I proving, right, to myself? This is one of the questions. Or am I really, what are my values? What is very important for me in life? Right. And okay, family is very important for me in life. Does my work, my career, or my career ambition support my value of family, or it compromises it, right? Like those important questions that very often we don't think about them. We prefer not to, we choose not to think about them, because they are uncomfortable. but they also have a big impact and influence on how we experience stress. So common mistakes when we're talking about recovery, when we're talking about support, nervous system support, treat recovery as optional again, right? High performance. Oh wait, I see a question here. I agree. When working from home, shutting down your laptop is an essential way to create a boundary. Yes, between work and personal life. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes even more. Like I work mostly from home, and then yeah, I need something else. I shut down the computer, but I realize that it's not enough by experimenting with other things. So like now I make a little. It's silly, but it works for me. As I said, like we need to find something that works for us. I shut down the computer, and then I have a tiny song, like 10 words, like la 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 la. So just I kind of you need to speak something out loud, so for the brain, or say something out loud, not just think about it, but it's better to talk, to say it, because then we hear it, we hear ourselves, and it's another signal to the brain. So I sing a little like closure song, and then I feel much better. And it also like shifts me from my like stress responsibility things. It shifts me to more like a joyful mode. So yeah, common mistakes. Treat recovery is optional. Recovery is not optional; is essential, right? It's burnout is not laziness, and treating ourselves and giving ourselves, especially women, like the women in the audience today, especially women, because we need more rest. We need rest, but I'm not going there now. But just trust me, it is essential. And many highly functioning people, women, tell me like, yeah, I can't. I have to perform because I need to be treated as equal. But we need to support ourselves to be able to be treated as equal and to be able to perform. Another common mistake: treat burnout as laziness or exhaustion. It is not laziness, it is not exhaustion. I hope you already see what I mean, right? It's not only exhaustion, so it's much deeper than that. Um, Only rely on sleep or weekends. I said it, but I will repeat. It's not effective. Sleeping every now and then, having a good night of sleep, or having a weekend. And also, we don't rest, we don't recover effectively during weekends because we have other responsibilities, family, thoughts, everything. So we don't create the systems to recover. Using stimulation instead of regulations, what I said, right? Like, oh yeah, I'll have this another cup of coffee, or I'll just go and watch a few series of my favorite few episodes of my favorite series, and I will recover. Or I will just be with a phone for an hour, which is also, it's not a regulation. Another common mistake that we all do: wait for exhaustion to force a stop, right? It's like, oh, okay, I will only take a holiday when I'm super exhausted, when I can't make it anymore, right? Yeah, well, yeah. At this stage, many people take a sick leave because they can't do it anymore. And only work with physical symptoms. It's also a mistake, right? When, okay, yeah, I'm tired, I feel that I'm drained, so I'm gonna work with it. No, because again, burnout is not only exhaustion. There are psychological symptoms. Again, what is important for me? What are my values? And do I can I actually play with my values at work? Does my work support my values, or it's against my values? If I don't feel that I am working on my bigger meaning or purpose at my work, right? Where else can I find that purpose? Remember the example of helping others. Where else can I introduce my skills so I will feel that my purpose is being, fed, being supported? What are my boundaries? How do I speak my boundaries? How do I show up within my boundaries? How do I support myself so other people don't compromise my boundaries and I don't compromise them? So these are psychological aspects that we also need to be able to think about and talk about in order to avoid emotional burnout. I see a question here. Yeah, right. We need to perform at work and at home. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, these are common mistakes, and yeah, I hope that after today's session we will try to avoid them. Recovery, right? You will ask me again. You're talking about systems. You're talking about systems. What really works? What really works? I mentioned it, but let me repeat it again, just to so that it stays with you. Burnout recovery should happen on different levels. It's very important to understand. As I already said, burnout happens on different levels. It's physical, it's nervous system, emotional, right? A lot of emotional elements there, meaning, cognitive and meaning. Like I'll get there. So what do we have to take care of in order to recover, in order to prevent? Again, recovery also means prevention. Looking at this list now, you can start thinking, as using the design thinking, how can I design the system for myself that will support me on a day-to-day basis, so that I avoid ineffectiveness, I avoid a deep stage of burnout. Physical, it's very, very simple, that's obvious, but how many of us do really pay attention to it? I will, yeah, I see a question, but I will get back to it now. Physical, sleep quality, like the basics, the foundations, sleep quality, nutrition, and nutrition timing, like, right, like gentle movement. This is very important, the most important three points of physical recovery. Sleep quality, it's not only quantity, it's not only the amount of number of hours we sleep, it's also the quality, right? Like essentials, preferably go into bed before midnight, because the deep sleep happens before that, right? We need at least 1.5 hours of deep sleep at night, like finding ways and systems to track this. How do I track my sleep? There are some apps for the phone. They're not ideal, but they work. There are some wearables like devices, rings or watches that can track sleep quality. It's very important and very nice to actually dig there. It's very nice to understand which habits affect the quality of sleep, because sleep is essential. And I'm very happy that most scientists are now talking about it as one of the most important predictors of health and happiness as well. But really good deep quality sleep is something to the first thing I would say to start looking at the effectiveness and quality of sleep. Nutrition, again, we're talking about balanced nutrition. We're talking about supporting ourselves and having not only like three breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but also having it balanced as possible. Like, right, also eating more fresh vegetables, fruits, and just getting as much micronutrients from the nature, from whatever we can source. It's like the whole big topic of discussion. And gentle movement. And I'm not necessarily talking about sports, highly fun, also like people in burnout states don't like, it's not a good idea to go to gym and lift weights, for example, or run marathons. Gentle movement on an everyday basis. So 5 minutes of movement, 5 minutes of dance, shake, a few squats, maybe, just a few movements in the morning, like just to wake up, is much better than only one big proper workout during the week. So systems, daily systems. Nervous system support, again, how do I make it a part of my recovery and prevention system? Breathing, regulating our breathing, right? Like the most simple tool that I will share with you is 5 minutes of conscious breathing, when we take an inhale on four, like 1, 2, 3, 4, inhale, then we pause for 4 seconds, and then we do exhale 6 seconds, right? Like you can try it right now, like inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, then pause 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then deeper exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's the simplest, but one of very effective ways to regulate the nervous system, calm down. Also, if you have difficulties falling asleep, this can also work. So very, very, very simple tools. Or box breathing, for example, which is also very applicable here. It takes like 2 minutes, but it really resets and recharges. Try it like a few times a day during your working day, and you will feel the effect straight away. So box breathing, like inhale at 4, pause at 4, exhale at 4, pause at 4. At the beginning, it might, if you're not used to breathing, at the beginning it might feel difficult to even pause for 4 seconds. You can start with 3 seconds. 3 3 3 3. The idea is to have these conscious stops, and you can do it for 1 2 minutes and it's already very effective. So breathing regulation is super powerful for nervous system support. Safety cues, as I said, also remember, like, little things that will support us, which will make us feel safe and feel that, yeah, like, I've got you, I've got you. One of the most powerful is, for example, is when we do the butterfly, right? Like, we put our hands like this and we tap our shoulders. So the moments of stress, anxiety, or I don't know, even before the important work meetings, sometimes many people experience stress, or the public speaking, right? They have to go on stage and you feel the heart racing. So this is good, like a few deeper breaths and then like 20 seconds of butterfly like this. It's like you give a cue to your body, like, yeah, you're safe, I'm here, I'm here. And it brings us back to our body. Very, very effective. Slowing the exhale, this is what I talked about. Slowing the exhale is a very good regulator of nervous system. So making it slower than inhale, because if you notice, when we are in our day-to-day life, we don't breathe slowly, right? We don't speak slowly, we don't breathe slowly, we hold our breath a lot. So breathing instantly calms us down. Um, emotional prevention, emotional recovery. I talked about it, right? Learning to process different emotions, frustration, grief, anger, sadness, everything. Just learning, finding ways that will support you to process it, right? Some people work with therapists. Some people go for nature walks. Some people pray. These are all things that support us and help us to process. It's important to process so it doesn't stay in the body. Boundaries. I talked about boundaries a lot today, but I had to repeat. And another level of burnout that we need to think about again is meaning, values, like purpose. What is my purpose? What are my values? How are they being met at my day-to-day work, at my day-to-day life, right? So these are the systems levels that we really need to think about when we are dealing with burnout. And I have some questions here. Self-soothing, interesting. Yes, exactly. Like, most of these things are very, very simple, but which makes it, the difficulty here is to make it a day-to-day habit, right? Just 5 minutes of conscious breathing. And if you go, even if you go like online, you ask ChatGPT, give me 20 tools to breathe consciously, you will find, or you go on YouTube and you will find so many videos showing you different breathing techniques, which will not take more than 5-10 minutes, and they're very effective. But the challenge here is to make it day-to-day habit. So this is where we need to really make a choice and start pushing through. This is where willpower actually helps. As a gamer, we play ranked matches for hours, and at some point, even after rest, we still feel stalked, like there is no improvement in our gameplay. How do we recover from this? Thank you for the question. I'm not a gamer, but I can imagine what's happening there. So the brain stays in alert mode. It's the same as just having a high workload, right? Like 20 calls a day or whatever, high responsibility. So just the brain does not recover. And there's a question, even after rest. The question to you here is that, how do you rest? What do you consider the rest, right? 20 minutes, 30 minutes in between, even like an hour in between games while scrolling the phone, or I don't know, making a coffee is not rest. We think that this is rest. We think that whatever is not work is rest, but it's not. That's why, bringing it back here, what is really rest for our nervous system is conscious breathing, is movement, is slowing down, is sleeping, if we're talking about deeper rest. Sometimes seeing a movie or sleeping. Yeah, seeing a movie will not make us rest. It's just a coping mechanism. It will help us to distract from what we're doing. But again, the brain stays alert because we are processing what's happening in the movie. Sleeping, yeah, sleeping can be rest, but there is an interesting there. If you start tracking your sleep with any kind of device, I'm now, for example, I have the ring. I'm wearing the ring when I sleep, and it shows me the interesting point about sleep debt. We have sleep debt, which means that we've not been sleeping effectively for years and it accumulates. So the ring shows me like you have 11 hours of sleep debt. It doesn't mean that I will sleep now for 11 hours straight and I will pay the debt. It means that I need to start sleeping on a consistent basis. I need to start sleeping much more effectively, like going to bed before 11, having 1.5 hours of deep sleep, for example, not having a heavy meal or not drinking alcohol before sleeping, not working out 1 hour before sleeping. So I need to create all this environment, not looking on my phone before falling asleep. uh, I need to work on quality of sleep. So yeah, sleeping in between games will maybe recharge you physically a little bit, but not necessarily this is that effective deep sleep that will actually restore the nervous system. So there was a point someone said, yeah, I go on a holiday for a week and I will recharge and I will recover. And I asked her, she was an entrepreneur. I asked her like, how are you gonna recharge in a holiday? What are you gonna do? And she was already in a very, very like alert stage. She's like, well, I will read books. I will go for walks. And reading books will also not help at this stage. It's very nice. We try to, right? We try to read or watch movies, do something that we don't have time to do during the week. We try to do it at our rest time. But very often, if we are in the state of burnout or close to burnout, very often we have to sacrifice things that we like, the activities that we like, and change them for deeply nourishing activities, right? So instead of reading a book, she would go for 1 hour walk in the nature, far away from the sounds of the city, for example. This would make much bigger impact on her recovery than reading a book, because again, reading a book is again processing. So yeah, these are the systems that we need to design. It's not even about the quantity, it's about quality, as I said. If we think that, yeah, I will recover during my holiday, it's not going to happen. It's been proven, there is research saying that we need at least 3 weeks, especially people highly functioning jobs and societies. We need we need at least 3 weeks of not doing anything productive that we consider productive, right? 3 weeks in nature, without social media, without screens, relative quiet, for our system to reset. 3 weeks. How many of us we can actually afford having 3 weeks? Is it realistic? No, it's unrealistic for most people. Deep sleep is almost impossible for me as a mom. Yeah, I feel you. I am a mom. I feel you. What do we do with that? What do we do with that? Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. I would say prioritizing sleep as much as possible. So um, it's impossible to have, especially if you have young kids who don't sleep through the nights in the first years of motherhood, right? Or if kids like older and they are getting sick or whatever, it is almost impossible, right, to have high quality sleep. Because now I'm talking about ideal situations, right, but that we have to try to create. But we live in a just in an imperfect world, and we have circumstances. But prioritizing it as much as possible. Again, like, I know as a mom that, my kid goes to bed and then I'm like, oh yeah, I have 2 hours, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to finish my work, I want to call my friend, I want to read a book, I want to do so many things. But I know that at this stage, I need to recover. I need to prioritize my sleep. So sometimes I just go to bed like at 9:30 p.m. or 9, or I go to bed with my kid. And I don't do anything. I don't clean the house. I don't cook for next day. I just go and I sleep. Like, I prioritize it. Everything else can wait. So it's more about what do I choose to prioritize at this stage, and what do I choose to give up. It's very difficult for women, I know, like for mothers as well, because we are, besides work, we have so many things. We have this mental load that I'm not saying that men don't have it. Just please don't get me wrong, but women process things differently, and it's as I work with, like, I learn neuroscience, and I know that our brains are wired differently, and we constantly have a lot of little thoughts that are draining us. Like, oh yeah, like kid's birthday is coming right now. I need to make a cake, or my mother-in-law, I need to call her, give her a call, or my neighbor was sick, I need to check. Oh, I need to do groceries, what do I cook tomorrow, and what will, like, my child has homework at school, all those little things. So many of those, and our brains never shut up, like our brains never stops. So we need, I'm not saying more than men, but we need it as much as men. But even it's sometimes we need to prioritize these things, the recovery and sleep. And um what can also help if you can't really prioritize sleep as much as possible, right? Just keep in mind that the motherhood stage, when they are little and when they don't sleep really well, it will pass. They will eventually sleep, and then you will focus on the sleep. But besides sleep, there are other things that support. Besides sleep, there are other smaller things. Again, breathing. I always talk about breathing and movement, breathing and movement. Safety cues, just getting back to the body. We call it somatics, right? Embodiment, like really getting back to the body, learning how to be aligned with the body, and breathing and prayer and meditation. These things help a lot. So even having these short moments of it, um, how do I unwind, right? Like, I put the kids to sleep, and yeah, I would take 5 minutes to breathe. I would take 5 minutes to do the breath work, and maybe shake my body, shake off the stress of the day. It works. It really does work, and it's been studied and proven that it's very effective. Any more questions here? I've already surpassed my hour, but I I am done here with the main part. I just leave the key takeaways here on the screen for you. So again, just as a reminder, I will not repeat it because I talked a lot about it. But yeah, maybe you just want to make a screenshot. Some people ask for it, and yeah, thank you for your time. And this is my sincere wish for all of us, to find our own systems, to design our own systems, to support ourselves on a daily basis. And again, a reminder that small things, but repetitive things, have much bigger effect than even the most wonderful long holiday with a lot of sleep and a lot of recovery. But it's very nice. It's nice to have both, but we can also have the agency, and just and make a choice to create those tiny little elements of recovery on a day-to-day basis. And again, if you want to explore it further, just to make it, for example, I would be glad to come back and just share the practical tools. I shared a few today, but I can build a presentation on just sharing like 10 tools, like small ones, 5 minutes, 5 minute each, which are proven to effectively support our nervous system regulation. And hopefully that you can like test some of them, or you can just find it online. You can test some of them and take them in your day-to-day practice, because it's very, very important to support ourselves.
So I think we would definitely appreciate if you come back and share those practical tools. I have taken so much from this session, and I feel like, just having the practical tools, like exactly what we need to do, it would be really helpful just, to make sure that we are, because what I have learned today, it's not in the big things you do, it's in the little things that, the habits you form that add up, to just make the burnouts become something in the past. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Tanya. We have really enjoyed. I'll speak personally. This has been a great session for me. And, the little you've shared, the steps I am going to practice, they say it takes 3 weeks, to form a habit. So
Yeah,
I will definitely give you feedback on that. I'll come back in like
please
three
do.
weeks and be like, oh, Tanya, I've been breathing for
Please
five
do.
minutes every day. for the
Yeah.
past 3 weeks. So thank you so much, and we look forward to the next session with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, please do like take, small, 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 as I said, just conscious breathing, just box breathing, just or just safety. Find something for yourself and try and test it, right? As we are talking through design thinking, right? I know that you are all well aware of what it is. Like what is this one small thing that I can test in the next month, for example, and see and notice if there is a change to my state. So there will be something. So yeah, thank you for your attention, thank you for your time, and I will definitely see you again.
Okay, bye bye, and have a
Bye
good
bye.
day.
Have a
Thank you
good day.
everyone for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day.